My name is Inga. This is the Inga Barks Show on KERN, Kern Radio, now bigger and better at AM 1180, talking about the PG&E ballot initiative, the ballot initiative that the county supervisors decided to go forward with in November. You deciding if you want to tell the supervisors to seek an alternative to PG&E. And we have with us Mike Turnipseed from Kern Tax. And Mike...
PG&E has the most, it gets back to them, they have a problem because they have the most diverse service area with the greatest climatic challenges, usage differentials, and trying to have a one-size package that fits all is difficult. Yeah. But to their credit, and it's just massaging. When he announced in 3 weeks or 4 weeks they're going to introduce a proposal they're going to take to the PUC that's basically going to do away with Tier 4 and Tier 5 rates and make the top rate 30 cents. And that has to be approved by the PUC. So while that's good for us because we're paying 49.8 right now, going to 30 is wonderful.
Yeah. So we need to lobby the PUC.
If you're just a Tier 3 user, that means your rate's going to go up 2.5 cents for the power you use in Tier 3. I mean, everybody gets gored a little bit, and that's going to mean a 5% increase in Tiers 1 and 2. So if your rate is 12 cents, 5% is 1/20th of that. It's like a half a cent rate increase. It's not very much.
Because the cost for PG&E to bring it to you is the same. No matter what they charge all of us in our different tiers, correct. The cost to bring it to us costs them the same. So somebody's got to pay it, right?
The cost of transmission and distribution doesn't change. The only real variable cost is the cost of electricity that they buy. Let's
bring on Denney Boyles from PG&E here local, Mike, and I'd love you two to talk about this like grown-ups because I'm just a child in the room. I'm still learning this stuff. Is that cool with you, Mike?
Sure.
Okay, excellent. We got about 5 minutes to do this, and I think it's great time. Denney, welcome to the show. How are you this morning?
I'm good. I couldn't hear anything Mike was saying.
It was terrible stuff about you, just awful. And no,
I
actually,
didn't say anything bad, Denney. I was just giving a history lesson.
Hey, Denney, before I let you and Mike talk, I have to ask why is PG&E reluctant to? I mean, why are you guys willing to be a whipping boy for the PUC and the legislature? Why are you so reluctant?
How do you mean?
Well, I'm dying for you guys to say we don't set the rates.
Well, we have said that. We've said that numerous times. We're a participant in that. We make a request to the CPUC when we need a rate increase to fund a variety of things. When we need to, build new infrastructure, maintain the infrastructure we have, buy new sources of power. We make a rate request to the CPUC to do it. And the way that the structure is set up with the cap on Tiers 1 and 2, those rate increases fall on 3, 4, and 5.
Okay, so what Mike was talking about, Mike, could you bring Denney up to speed on what you're talking about the collapsing the tiers?
Oh, well, he knows what the proposal was. They announced to the board yesterday a proposal for taking June 1st and 11 to basically drop the top rate to 30 cents, do away with 4 and 5, make Tier 3 a little bigger. And so strictly Tier 3 users are going to pay a little bit more, but it's a great step.
Denney, are you guys going to move? You guys are moving forward with that?
That was the proposal that Tom Bottorff presented to the board, and then there was another element of that, a monthly, I believe it's a $3 monthly customer charge across every customer to, I guess, help balance that out.
Yeah. Now, it sounds like we're getting a little bit more toward equity, but what are the people in Tier 1 and 2 going to do over this? I mean, are they going to go ape? What are their bills going to look like?
Well, and that was exactly, Tom was asked that question several times yesterday, both by the Board of Supervisors and by reporters after the meeting, and we can't say it. We don't know. Tom's position, and I agree with it, is there are going to be people who support our tier request and people who oppose it. That's typical for any time you ask for a change.
Mike, why am I asking questions? You know more about this than I do. But we've been comparing ourselves to the Bay Area. Their rates are going to change if this is approved? Yes.
Well, and I think what gets lost in the conversation is when we do a rate increase request, it increases rates across our service area. Mm-hmm. And when I heard some discussion when I was on hold just from what you were saying about the baseline. The baseline and the weather or the climate zones is the equalizer. The rates are the same system-wide, but the formula for computing the baseline in the different weather climate zones takes into account that things are different. That's why Bakersfield has the highest baseline. What Tom said and what we've said before is we agree that it could still be better. It could still be higher.
Mike?
Well, no, this baseline system is supposedly 60% of the average use. Nobody really understands it. But when you look at, and this is really what got us started, the Fresno Bee ran a series of articles on usage rates, and they compared Bakersfield to Palm Springs, Pasadena, various places, and our rates were nearly double, about 40%, 30% higher than any other city for the equal usage, and that's what really pushed our button. But, the point becomes that it all goes back to AB 1890 back in 96 when they froze the rates. And for 14 years, the rates were frozen. And we went back and did a study. If PG&E would have been allowed to raise their rates just at the CPI, that's all, 2-3% a year, because the total number is 35% since 96. If they would have been able to do that, we wouldn't be here today, because they would be paying historically what they used to pay before AB 1890, and the difference between the top tier and the bottom tier was 5 cents.
Denney, why can't we go back to that time? Well, the other thing, and I'm going to say this, I'm an amateur in this in terms of, rates. Tom is much better expert on it. But the last part of that conversation, what I've learned in my time with PG&E is we're also not able to just continuously build sources of power. It's a regulatory hurdle after hurdle to continue to, come up with sources of power. Mm-hmm. And that's why the rate structure was put in place in the first place, to encourage conservation and also to limit that top amount. If we were able to just say, we're going to continue to build power plants, and that would also ignore how much it costs to build them. I've seen some interesting comparisons recently about, the rate structure, and even some conversations here have made the impression that there's an unlimited supply of untapped energy in Kern County, and that's not the case.
No, my frustration is that because of your regulatory hurdles, we don't have more power plants here. You've got to import power, and it makes it more expensive. And the whole idea of conservation frustrates me, forcing conservation. It's not your fault, it's regulation, but I want to use as much as I want to use. I just want to pay a fair price for it. And what they're doing is forcing me to conserve because I'm scared to death of what my bill's going to look like. And then I'm cold or I'm hot, and I don't like it.
Inga?
Yeah, Mike?
Another thing, the whole system is flawed because the legislature thought if we raise the bills enough, raise this rate to 49 cents, people would use less.
Yeah.
And what happens, because 3, 4, and 5, tiers 1 and 2 were frozen. So all the cost increases had to be passed on to 3, 4, and 5.
Right.
So the more people in 3, 4, and 5 conserved, the higher the rates had to go for PG&E to pay its bills. PG&E is a victim in this, too.
I
because
agree.
Remember, they went bankrupt.
I agree.
Because of what the state did.
Yes.
And they're playing catch-up because the state went out and bought very expensive power for long-term contracts that we're paying for.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a long history how the state of California, the legislature, has absolutely, this is on their hands.
I agree.
The problem is they aren't in Bakersfield. Denney is. Tom came down from San Francisco. And, the other guys here, they're all accessible. They're easy to talk to. They understand what the problem is. But they're working for basically it's half the state of California organization that is basically they have a relationship. They have a contract, and PG&E corrects me, that's not the right term. But basically, the state legislature provides the power. The PUC administers the contracts, and Edison has a contract, and PG&E and San Diego Gas and Power have a contract with the state to deliver power under their rules. And they do what the state basically tells them to do or allows them to do. And we know how the state's messed up everything else.
Exactly. So Denney, I encourage you to say it as often as you can. Talk to the legislature. Talk to the guy who's having the press conferences right now because he voted for it. Because we need to. Because as long as we're mad at you, we're not going to get much accomplished. We need to go to who really is the cause of this.
I think we've said that over and over again, talk to the legislature, and look at the system as a whole. And, our desire is to work with the CPUC, work with the legislature, and work with local governments, or even, local customers. Our concern is, especially right now, our concern is for our customers. That's going to drive a lot of our decisions. That's why we were making a lot of movement on rates before, I guess, if you wanted to call it, the media explosion hit. That if you look back at the actions that were taken to ask the legislature to uncap tiers 1 and 2, that was underway before, we started being on TV every night in Bakersfield about it. Because it's a long process.
Yeah.
We're limited right now in the changes we can make in tiers 1 and 2.